In August 2001, I visited my birthplace, Cairo, Egypt, where I was born and raised as a Muslim, and also grew up in Gaza, the Gaza Strip. I was stunned to find radical Islam has taken over. The level of anger, hatred, and anti-Semitism was alarming. Women were losing instead of gaining rights. There was widespread corruption and mismanagement. I saw extreme poverty, unemployment, high inflation, and pollution and garbage around the Nile River. But all what Arab media talked about was only Israel and America bashing. They promoted a deep wish to destroy Israel and America, not just through terrorism, but also economically. As early as the 50s, I heard Arab intellectuals say oil should be used as a weapon against the West. Arab media ignored reporting on Muslims against Muslim atrocities. All they reported about was a humiliation of a Palestinian at a checkpoint. Saddam's gassing of his own people, Muslim against Muslim, was not mentioned in Arab media. Many people in Egypt didn't know about this. Muslim radicals slaughtering 150,000 Algerians was not even mentioned in Arab media. Very little. And even the Sudan was attributed to other problems. It was not Arab problem. It was not Muslim problem. Arab media have failed human rights of the ordinary Arab citizen. And so does the UN. I was happy to return to the United States on the evening of September 10, 2001. And the next morning, I saw the second airplane hit the Twin Towers. I knew immediately jihad, the jihad that I left behind, has come to America. Muhammad Atta was from the same city I came from. I called several friends in Cairo. I wanted them to comfort me, to tell me this has crossed the line. Each and every person I called in Egypt told me, how dare you say Arabs did this? Don't you know this is a Jewish conspiracy? Once again, my people are accusing the Jewish people of something that we know very well we Arabs have done ourselves. This is repeated in all the international communities. In any religions, this is considered to be a sin. But in the eyes of radical Islam and the supporters of radical Islam, Jews don't deserve the truth, justice, or mercy. The Jews that we describe in our mosques, Arab textbooks, and in Arab media don't exist. They are the creation of our own need to have an enemy. Arabs are fighting an imaginary Jew. Israel is not perfect, and no society is. But the way the Jews have been treated and ganged against in the United Nations is mistreatment of a nation that deserves respect and not our hatred. We are treating the Jewish people unfairly, and it is tragic. It's a disgrace. And the international community must wake up. The United Nations have taken the side of those who want to destroy the non-Muslim world through jihad. And the first nation in the way of jihad is Israel. It's not standing up, the United Nations is not standing up against the stoning of Muslim women, the amputation of limbs, the oppression and the persecution of the poorer classes in the Middle East, where I have lived for 30 years in the Middle East in oppressive dictatorships and police states. They ganged up against Israel, convinced the United Nations to do the same thing. Palestinians, the Palestinian movement was the creation of the 22 Arab countries. My father headed the Egyptian military intelligence in Gaza in the 50s. And at that time, they could not find volunteers in Gaza to do the jihad against Israel. Egypt had to shame, blame, pamper, and abuse the Arabs of the West Bank and Gaza, and the whole Arab world did, to make them start the jihad against Israel and never accept peace with Israel. They pushed the Palestinians against the fence of Israel and giving respect to only those who want to terrorize Israel. Anybody who wants a good job and respect in the West Bank and Gaza, join Fatah. That's how the current situation has developed. A lot of people in the media ask the US government, why don't you pressure Israel for concessions? I don't hear the UN and Western media ask Arab leaders, 22 Arab leaders, why don't you pressure Palestinians for concessions? Those Palestinians line up for work, not on the borders with Jordan or Egypt. They line up for work on the borders with Israel, the very country they are ordered to terrorize. I have lived in the Middle East, my homeland, and I witnessed honor killing of girls, female genital mutilation. And I have personal experience of people who were victims of all of this. We regularly heard cursing of non-Muslims from the pulpits of mosques. We always heard the ending of the Muslim prayers on every Friday by cursing the Jews and the infidels, the enemies of God. We were ordered not to befriend them or make treaties with them. From the pulpits of mosques, we always heard hate speech. The problem of Arabs in the West Bank and Gaza is not Israel. The problem is created by 22 Arab countries. I used to hear all this bashing and hatred and anti-Semitism regularly, not just in schools, in the media, everywhere. You can't avoid it, even in music, even in songs. And believe it or not, if you grow up with cursing like that from the leaders of your community, both religious and political leaders, it can feel and sound normal and holy and good. Condemnations of human and women's rights violations in the Muslim world has become less important than condemning Israel. It's not just Arab media that is the problem. What is worse is that the United Nations have not done any better than Arab media. The Cairo Declaration of 1990 said that Sharia should override any other law for human rights in Muslim countries. The United Nations did not stop that, did not stand against it. The UN is bending over backwards, shaping international law to fit Muslim Sharia law, a very oppressive, demeaning law for women and for human rights. For many decades, the UN has tolerated the intolerance of the Muslim world and the Arab world, even towards the oppression of women. Religious minorities are suffering. The lower classes are treated badly and oppressed. Arab feminists and reformers and intellectuals are intimidated, threatened, and killed. What kind of message does this send to Arab feminists and Muslim reformists when the United Nations does not support them? The UN and the far left are tolerating Islamic intolerance. And by doing that, they are not doing Muslims or Islam a favor. I love my culture of origin. But when you keep tolerating the radicals and the jihadists and the anti-Semites, you are not doing us a favor. I want to tell that to the United Nations. I love my culture. The Arab people have a lot of virtues in it. But the goodness in the Arab culture is being eroded by the radicals and by the terrorism and by the hate speech. It's destroying the moral fabric and goodness in Arab culture. and by the West and the